Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you our nightly update. And today is a special day. Today at Colorado State University, for decades, a bell has been rung to signify the start of the peak part of hurricane season. So I have our bell here tonight, and we are ready for the hurricane season. And the peak part of hurricane season, though, we do have a monstrous kind of historic size storm out here with Hurricane Erin in the western Atlantic. There may be some quiet days ahead of us here over the next, as soon as we get rid of Aaron. Honestly, we may see something with our lead wave here. We could see something with this wave here, disturbance number one, with a 10% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 60% chance of development over the next 7 days as it trails and follows in behind Aaron. Our Invest 99L on the other hand has a 40% chance of development over about the next 2 days. Once it gets past that point and it gets into this weekend, it will likely meet its demise due to hostile conditions. But we will have to continue to watch this one as it treks across the Atlantic Basin along the trade winds as a non-organized system for when it gets out here into portions of the Western Caribbean. There are some signals that there may be some possibility with this way down the road, but they are definitely not strong signals in any shape or form. So, taking a look at our most recent mesoscale satellite view, here, let me hit the auto refresh on that. I've got this set up for 1 minute frames, and it goes out 90 minutes. So over the last hour and a half, this is a close-up view of what Aaron has done. Looked like it was trying to get the eye to clear out there, but never really got the cloud cover to clear it. Now, if I switch this over to our long wave image, you can see that here, as we wait on the 90 frames to load, you could see that we had a very clear eye signature. And as we continue to go through the frames, we're starting to lose a little bit of that clearing signature of what we saw. So Aaron might have kind of peaked out while we were waiting on reconnaissance to get in there. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to see exactly what it was at that point. Reconnaissance is currently on its way, but has not made it yet. So, as of the 5 p.m. advisory, we are currently located with Hurricane Erin at 31.2 north, 73.6 west, about 520 miles west of Bermuda, and about 295 miles south-southeast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Current maximum sustained winds are 110 miles an hour with the movement of north at 14. It is at 360 or 0 degrees on the compass. It is moving due north. Minimum central pressure is 943 millibars. We currently have a storm surge warning in effect for Cape Lookout to Duck, North Carolina. A tropical storm warning in effect. And I'm going to show the tropical storm warning, storm surge warning, and all this other stuff with our storm surge watch. We're going to show this in a graphical format so everybody has a more visual look there. Our hazards affecting land. This is the most important part of a public advisory. Wind. Tropical storm conditions are expected over portions of the North Carolina Outer Banks and the Virginia coastline beginning late today. Elsewhere along the mid Atlantic and southern New England coast, wind gusts to tropical storm force are likely Thursday through early Friday. Tropical storm conditions are possible on Bermuda Thursday and Friday. Surf. Swells generated by Erin will affect the Bahamas, Bermuda, the east coast of the United States, and Atlantic Canada during the next several days. These rough ocean conditions are expected to cause life-threatening surf and rip currents. Please consult products from your local weather forecast office for more information. I'm just going to put it very bluntly. Stay out of the water. There's no need to be in the Atlantic this week. Just stay out of the water, especially as we start getting into the tide cycles. We've had low tide here recently on the North Carolina coast, and as the sun goes down, the tide's going to start coming up. The waters are going to start coming up, and nobody needs to be out there. Storm surge. The combination of a dangerous storm surge and the tide will cause normally dry areas near the coast to be flooded by rising waters moving inland from the shoreline. The water could reach the following heights above ground somewhere in the indicated areas if the peak surge occurs at the time of high tide. Cape Lookout to Duck, North Carolina, 2 to 4 feet. Our rainfall. Rainfall with this one, folks, is not the big issue. It's not a problem at all. We've had some rain bands. It doesn't even look like that the rain band. A few showers and thunderstorms have developed on shore today, but it doesn't look like the overall primary rain band from this afternoon was going to reach eastern North Carolina. Our key messages, we have already gone through these by reading the hazards affecting land, but I'm going to nail this home numerous times throughout this live stream. This one right here, key message number 1. Erin is expected to produce life-threatening surf and rip currents along the beaches of the Bahamas, much of the east coast of the U.S., Bermuda, and Atlantic Canada during the next several days. Beachgoers in those areas should follow advice from lifeguards, local authorities, and beach warning flags. In other words, stay out of the water. I will make it very clear. Look at the text that they have here from the National Hurricane Center. Look at the bold of this text. They're basically, beachgoers are cautioned against swimming at most U.S. beaches due to life-threatening surf and rip currents. They're being nice. They're telling you, you're cautioned against it. I'm just going to be blunt. Stay out of the water. Don't become a statistic this week. It's bad. It's really, really bad. And nobody needs to go out there and be like, oh, well, I am invincible. I can take this. Yeah. That's what... Never mind. I digress. Just stay out of the water. So with our experimental cone, with our watches and warnings, as you can see, we have our area out here highlighted in yellow with Bermuda with our tropical storm watch. Now, if we zoom in here, we will see where our tropical storm warnings are. And they stretch from the area here in, the Delmarva Peninsula. I knew I would forget it. All the way down through Virginia Beach, getting down into the Outer Banks of North Carolina. All these areas here are located under a tropical storm warning, not a watch. Tropical storm conditions are expected. So, our discussion. So, being that we've got impacts riding right up to land, we're going to go ahead and we're going to read it all out for everybody tonight. Erin continues to look impressive on satellite imagery with fairly symmetric cloud pattern and numerous convective banding features. Upper level outflow remains well defined over parts of the circulation. An AMSR microwave image from just before 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time showed a concentric eye wall structure with an outer ring of convection at a radius of 70 to 80 nautical miles from the center, and an inner eye wall at a radius of about 20 nautical miles. The current intensity estimate is held at 95 knots based on a blend of subjective Dorvac classifications from TAB and SAB and objective intensity estimates from the University of Wisconsin. Now, for our microwave imagery, give me 1 second and I will show you exactly. This is what the microwave imagery picked up on. All right, so that just kind of gives you a visual idea of what the first paragraph of the discussion was mentioning. All right, let's get back to paragraph number 2. The hurricane is moving northward with a forward speed of around 12 knots. The steering scenario and track forecast reasoning have not changed from the previous advisory. Erin should move around the western and northwestern periphery of a mid-level subtropical anticyclone over the next day or so, moving between Bermuda and the U.S. East Coast. After that, the system should accelerate northeastward and east-northeastward while embedded within the mid-latitude westerlies over the North Atlantic. The official forecast is close to the previous NHC prediction and is in good agreement with the NOAA Corrected Consensus HCCA guidance. Although Erin is over warm waters with ample mid to low level moisture, the concentric convective ring structure of the system will likely prevent significant strengthening, and the official intensity forecast now only shows slight short-term increase in intensity similar to the D-SHIPS and LGEM guidance. Beginning in about 36 hours, the ship's model diagnoses a large increase in vertical wind shear, so a weakening trend is anticipated from that time onward. The predicted structure of the cyclone in the global models indicate that extratropical transition should be underway in 3 to 4 days, while Erin passes over much cooler waters. Erin is an unusually large hurricane. For hurricanes north of 30 degrees north latitude, its tropical storm force wind radii are in the 75th percentile of the Atlantic Basin record. Now, if we take a look here at the intensity forecast, they do call for this to potentially get back up to 115 miles an hour and be reclassified as a Category 3 major hurricane. It's not really going to make much of a difference between 110 and 115. It's just for major and non-major classification. So it will be interesting to see whether we actually get reclassified back up to a Category 3. We should know that here shortly with the approach of a Hurricane Hunter aircraft. Our peak storm surge forecast, as you could see now, our peak surge forecast has been extended much further northward all the way up to Sandy Hook and all the way down to South Santee River, at least 1 to 3 feet of storm surge rise. This also now includes lower Chesapeake Bay. 2 to 4 feet are still forecast for between Cape Lookout and Duck, North Carolina. But everywhere else, we're looking at least 1 to 3 feet of potential water rise. Our rip currents. This is our rip currents today. Here is our rip currents for tomorrow. As you could see, the overall composite: stay out of the water. Period. End of story. Full stop. Honestly, just stay out of the water. I mean, you can go out, you can take a look at it. It'll be some historic waves, historic storm. Don't get out there in the water. Our rainfall forecast, as I said, as we could see, not much for overall rainfall. Maybe some showers and some storms as they move through. Maybe looking at potentially upwards of an inch of rain, which isn't a lot. But now if we take a look at our earliest reasonable arrival time of tropical storm force winds, yeah, It's way out there. And Bermuda, you're looking at potentially Thursday morning after sunrise, somewhere in that range. Your most likely arrival time will be sometime on Thursday or tomorrow afternoon, evening ish hours. We could also see some clip of some of these tropical storm force winds getting into coastal Cape Cod region, Martha's Vineyard, and that would be their Thursday evening as well as your most likely arrival time of winds. Folks, it's just the fact that the storm itself is so large that it's not hitting anybody. It's shooting the gap exactly like we would want it to. No direct impacts, but there is plenty of peripheral impacts with this associated with the massive wind field and just the overall size of Erin itself. Our wind field, speaking of which, currently we're looking at about 410 miles across, 400 plus miles across with our tropical storm force winds. As this continues to get further and further to the north, we get it into potentially a 600-mile wide plus system, 650. So now by this time, it is well gone off and away from land, but the overall winds are still going to be there, and it is going to be epic seas across the entirety of the Atlantic as this thing begins to start to wind down. It's going to be ridiculous. Our percentages for sustained tropical storm force winds, as we can see here, Cape Hatteras 29%, Morehead City 12%, Surf City is down to 6%. So Sable Island here, that's in Canada, 16. So all in all, the sustained part of it, probably not. The overall gusts, especially out there on the Outer Banks and the coastal regions, yeah, you're going to see some winds. A overall look at the wave, significant wave height and direction from the Euro. As you can see, we are anticipating quite a bit of wave action all along the eastern seaboard of the United States and including Atlantic Canada and Bermuda. As you can see, these waves are still interacting. We're 4 days out and the swells are still we're starting to weaken some, but it is still being generated by this storm. As you can see, I don't have the rest of the Atlantic out here, but this becomes an absolute monster wave maker over the Atlantic Ocean. It is absolutely crazy. And I could pull that up here. This is nuts. Watch this. How this storm, its wave swells expand, and then just take over damn near the entire Atlantic. It's crazy. Look at the wave action going all the way across to the other side. So, this one's a historic one, no doubt about it. We pulled up the data buoy center here this evening because we do have a buoy that is very, very close to where the center of circulation is, just off to the west-northwest. And currently we've got winds out of the north-northwest at 44.7 knots. This is, in the low 50s. Gusting to 60.2 knots, which is very strong tropical storm. That is 70 miles an hour, right in that range. Significant height, we're dealing with 27.2 feet worth of wave action going on right now. And the mean wave direction is from the northeast. Our atmospheric pressure is dropped to 29.1 inches of mercury. So we've got 27-foot waves rolling through at an average wave period of about 9 to 10 seconds. To say that the ocean is angry is an understatement. So please, please, folks, I am begging you, stay out of the water. I cannot stress this enough. Please, I'm begging you, stay out of the water. We don't, not this one. Wait next week. Next week you can go in the water all you want. Not this week. Station 41001. This is off to the northeast, and as you can see, is potentially in the cone of uncertainty. So the center of circulation will cross extremely close to this particular buoy. Currently, we are looking at winds at around 23.3 knots, so give or take, we're closing in on 30, with gusting to 36.9 knots. This is well within the tropical storm force wind field, and as you can see, it is still, this is located at 34.82 north, 72.43 west, and our storm is still down here in the 31 range. So, just, we're talking about hundreds of miles of this tropical storm force wind field. Our significant wave height right now is 24.3 feet, traveling at a average wave period of 10.8 seconds. The atmospheric pressure is dropping. When I loaded this up, it had a different update on it, and this pressure is falling and falling quite quickly. So all the waves are coming from the south, being that the storm is coming from the south and moving to the north. It will be very interesting to see what 41001 shows us as we go through the next 24 hours. Our forecast potential winds gusts. Now, I should have enough here with the 19Z run on this. And of course, we've got a 57 mile an hour wind here on Cape Hatteras. Let me jump back one model member here, 57, 56. So in the 50s, mid to upper 50s, and then we'll finally get the gusts to get below tropical storm force tomorrow evening, right about sunset, Thursday, 8 p.m. Now, we have a different way to show this particular graphic, and I have picked Rodan. I believe that's how they pronounce it. This is the area that a lot of the news media has been at today, showing the homes in the surf zone that are built up on the very large stilts on the water, and that are most likely not going to be there by the time that we get done with the end part of Erin's wrath. But I have gone up and down pretty much the entirety of the Outer Banks of North Carolina. There is not much change in the overall forecast as to what the wind speeds are calling for. We are looking at sustained winds getting into, like right in and around tropical storm force, 37 miles an hour. I mean, we're splitting hairs. You're definitely going to get a warning at that point. 39 is sustained tropical storm force winds. And then our wind gusts getting into the lower 50s. Now, like I said, I've gone up and down the entirety of the Outer Banks here. I've gone there. I have picked into Avon here. We will show that as well. We do not see any change in the forecast wind speeds. I have looked and looked and looked, and I see nothing. Everything remains approximately the same when it comes to what the National Weather Service office is calling for. I mean, they're all 52 miles an hour. All of them. Now, this is subject to change. but this does come directly from the National Weather Service. So that's what we're looking at. Gusts into the 50s, the wave action, the flooding. That's going to be the big story with this one. How everything looks, Highway 12 being overtopped, overwashed, and probably compromised with the road just being scoured up by the waves and the water and the removal of sand. Looking at our hurricane reconnaissance, as you can see here, it's on his way, but ain't gonna be there for a little bit further. Kind of flying in towards 78 degrees west. We're at 30.4, 78.4, and the storm itself is 31.2 and 73.6. So still got a ways to go. All right, looking at our most recent guidance on this, it is a very tight clustered track. We do not have any threat for the Azores, no threat for Atlantic Canada other than peripheral impacts, no threat to Bermuda. For the folks over there on the other side of the Atlantic, and they're in Europe, United Kingdom, and that area in there, United States sends a gift known as former Hurricane Erin, and please exercise precautions. Looking at the wave action and the overall size of this system, please protect yourselves and take precautions, because there's definitely going to be a storm coming. Looking at the University of Wisconsin's products, 94 knots, 92, 103, 115 on D-Mint. That'll be kind of interesting to see. 114 and 93. So a blend of this kind of gets us in and around that 110, 115 mile an hour range. It'll be up to them. No rapid intensification. Our location, as you can see here, with eye certainty of 95.1%. Getting into the probability of eye wall replacement cycle, we've got a 68% chance of an eye wall replacement cycle taking place, although it's quite doubtful that, it very well could, but I just don't think it's gonna. I really think that this double concentric eye wall feature is likely to hold just long enough until the shear really starts to hit it, though I could definitely be wrong. Our shear is a little bit old, but 9 knots. You could just look at the overall outflow of the storm itself and its symmetry and circular. It's definitely not being impinged upon by too much shear, although I can tell you just by looking at this satellite that some of these clouds here are beginning to get caught up in this trough feature that is continuing to move in. And you got a big low pressure right here. This is what's helping to drag the jet stream like this. And another little short wave here with another monster coming in behind that is going to dump some really attractive temperatures into parts of the eastern United States. And for my northern friends and folks further up, could you please do us Floridians a great favor and plug your fans in facing southward outside and turn them on high. And if we can get enough collective fan blowing, we may be able to get some of that, beautiful fall-like weather that you guys are going to be experiencing. But unfortunately, Mother Nature does not want to share with us folks further to the south. So, all right, now let's check in real quick on the trends with this. We're going to go through this real fast because this is kind of, not really necessary too much anymore. We know the forecast. That was GFS, Euro, UK, still adjusting. back and forth like a windshield wiper. The Canadian, right, pretty much right on top of it. H-Wharf has been performing pretty good. Uh, this one, as far as not too bad. The hurricane regional intensity models have been performing pretty good. I've got the statistics up, and I could pull them up here at the end of the live if anybody wants to see them. And as we could see here, maybe a little bit of a bump with the H-Wharf as far as intensity is concerned. H-Mon, a little bit of a bump. Halves, a little bit of a bump. So, I mean, maybe jumping this back into a Cat 3 status. Halves B is like, probably not, but maybe. It could get a little bit of assistance from interacting with the jet stream itself, a little bit of extra ventilation, maybe dropping some of its pressures. But whether it would translate into increased wind speeds, I'm not sure about that. The overall storm itself is huge. And as we can see here, the TC coamps jumps this up, getting it up to maybe about another 120 or so. But nothing that really wants to drive this into surprise territory. A consensus model here with the TVCN and the HCCA, as we can see, keeps it well offshore of any landmass. Our intensity models, the HCCA does not want to show any further intensification. The TVCN or the IVCN here at this point does not show intensification either. The official forecast track from the NHC, as you can see, has been riding pretty much right on top of one another, and a little bit of a bump there from the National Hurricane Center, then bringing it back down and eventually turning it extra tropical. For our models, if we take a look over the next 10 days, we have Erin moving out, a small area of low pressure potentially developing off the southeastern coast of the United States, exiting out kind of in the same track as Erin, and then what looks to be our first area of disturbance number 1, trailing and following in along Erin's path. Now, if we go out 10 days, we don't see anything out here into the Western Caribbean. But if I push it to 12, you could see a small signal. Not a lot. Crosses over the Yucatan Peninsula, very weak, and then develops into the southwestern Gulf of Mexico and moves off into the mainland of Mexico there. But there's so little of a signal, it's immaterial, and not to mention that it was in La La Land to begin with. If we compare that with the 10-day European AI model. Now, the Euro AI also calls for disturbance number 1 to potentially kind of track up and follow Erin with a higher potential signal of some type of low pressure exiting off of the southeastern United States and moving off into the northern Atlantic in trail of Erin. But we have a couple little circles out here in the Florida Straits and in and around the western Cuba region of day 10 with the potential of tropical cyclone development. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 circles here associated with that, and that would also be trying to pull along the frontal boundary itself. If it gets out a little further west, it's going to go west. But again, we're in La La Land. These models are going to change. It is just to show the overall steering pattern that we should continue to see that East Coast troughing that would potentially pick up anything here that develops into portions of the Western Caribbean and turn it back to run it up that troughing feature. But timing is a thing. And honestly, folks, we don't even have any developed system, where this is concerned with Invest 99L. Now, comparing this all with the GEFS and its ensembles, we've got this out 10 days. You could see Erin runs off. Our other area and disturbance, which could potentially be Ferdinand on this, potentially impacting or threatening Bermuda, plus another signal from the GEFS of some type of low pressure coming off of the east coast of the United States and kind of running out and running up along the trough. Now, if we push this out to say day 12, we do have a small signal out here into portions of the Western Caribbean, but a lot of that signal, if you will note, also includes the Eastern Pacific. So, if this thing were to stay weak and never really find an environment to where it could get, kind of feel this East Coast troughing and just stays along the trade winds, I mean, it's going to go right off into the Eastern Pacific and just chug right along. And now we will compare this all with the Google DeepMind. And this is going to kind of highlight what I was talking about. You can see Invest 99L right here. If I were to click on that, that's all the ensembles that we get on this. Okay, we're looking at this to significantly weaken as it attempts to cross the basin. So, as I continue to run this forward, you will see here a signal 3 days out for our disturbance number 1. We'll put a box on that, as you can see, off and running right behind Erin. Could develop into a named system. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to run this forward a little bit more. And we've got one little blip. Okay, 1 out of 50. Keep that in mind. Got one blip. All right, there we go. There's the wave. We got 2 blips. We got 3 blips. There's the 4th blip. And that's about all we got. And notice, I'm out 15 days. You didn't even realize it. Looky here. Now 15 days. And we have nothing. All right, I'll even take this all the way through just to show it from a distance. We may get something in the Eastern Pacific next week, as we could see. But as far as Invest 99L, there's not much for a signal, folks. Still deserves the respect of watching, but nothing to be concerned about. And for the folks that are sharing all the scary little deterministic models from global runs, I got some choice words for you, but I'm not going to say it on this live stream. So, taking a real quick look at Earth Null here. Now, we've got it down to the surface. As you can see, everything to the north of the system is blowing towards land. This is where we are going to get our greatest wave action and why we see some surge values all the way up the coast. It is associated with this onshore wind. You're going to pile the water up. Now, if I were to bring this up, say, to the 500 millibar level, now we're approximately 3.5 miles above the ocean surface. You could clearly see the high pressure ridge right here and the break in as to which this is going to go. I mean, you see this small dip in this wind here. It's not coming this way. It is definitely going to go that direction. So I'm going to bring this up to the 250 millibar level. So this is approximately 6 miles above the atmosphere, or above the ocean surface. Here is the jet stream that this is going to be associated with the upper level trough feature that is also moving in to ensure Erin turns to the northeast and east-northeast. So I'm going to run this forward. We're going to come back down to the 500 millibar level. We're going to run this forward 24 hours. This is out on the GFS. Now we're going to zoom this out just a little bit, and I'm actually going to come up over land a little bit more. Now you can see our areas of disturbed weather down here. I will highlight them for folks that may want to know. This is our spot here with our disturbance 1. This is Invest 99L. So, as we could see, we've got this very large low pressure here. We've got Erin here. Give that an E, and that is headed this direction. And we've got this low pressure here that is going to be diving in with this high pressure ridge kind of stuck in place. And this is going to pivot around that and come down. So, well, maybe not like that, but you'll see. So, again, the GFS's solution. Here we go with, now we're 48 hours into the future. Now we're 72 hours into the future. Now we're 96 hours into the future. And look at this. You see this wind right here? Do you see that coming down and just dropping into the eastern United States? Do you see this? Share, folks. To the folks down here, to where we're going to be absolutely sweating ourselves half to death. We would love to participate in some of this cooler fall air. If you could please send it down to at least the 30-degree north latitude line, I would be deeply appreciative of your contributions. So that's pretty much what we're looking at. And as you can see, this area here is disturbance number 1. If I come down to the surface, can you find Invest 99L? Let's play Where's Invest 99L? Anybody see it? Anybody? So if we continue to run this forward, that's the end of Earth Null. And, that's as far as Earth Null is going to take us out there. But it's a little sneaky right there. That's the low pressure that's coming off the East Coast and expected to run out. This one would run out. And if you look at where the high pressure is, the high pressure never got the opportunity to build back across the basin. You're still running the East Coast troughing right here to where you're turning everything. So this is why I was saying if something were to develop here, you've got a small high right here. And it's going to run kind of like this. So if something were to develop in this area, it could potentially pull this way. It's just something that we got to watch for. Again, there's no signal for it. It's just the way that the steering patterns and the currents are set up. Our nightly look at our dust, I will hit play. I will let this just go ahead and run on out. As we could see, there is some dust, but it's not forecast to hang around. Take a look. We get out, by the time we get out to 240 hours, we may not, this is 10 days, by the time we get to the end of August, we may not be seeing this dust model come up anymore because there won't be any dust to talk about. Our deep layer wind shear, Euro on the left, GFS on the right. As we continue to run this forward, you will note over the tropical Atlantic, we do get an increase of overall wind shear, as you can see here, associated with the Euro and associated with the GFS on the eastern portions of the tropical Atlantic. So if that were to materialize, that wouldn't hurt my feelings. Plus, also, if we get into day 7, I do want to pull this up here. We have a shear component here on the GFS and a shear component here on the Euro. I am going to run this forward out to its 10-day mark. And as you could see, they both still exist. The GFS still has shear this way. The Euro still has shear this way, and it actually comes down from here. So same thing with the GFS, comes down here, lightens up a little bit, and then reestablishes itself. So it does look like that the East Coast troughing is going to remain through the end of August. Our 700 millibar relative humidity, again, Euro on the left, GFS on the right. This is to take a look at the atmospheric moisture there at approximately 2 miles above the ocean surface. as you can see, it is still considerably dry over portions of the Atlantic. Maybe starting to get a little bit of moisture change, but by the time that we get out to 10 days, just look at the difference between the models, folks. I mean, we've got some large scale feature out here into the central Atlantic, but the way that the troughing feature is oriented, no. We are not in agreement in the slightest with that. The Euro has a lot more dry air in the Western Caribbean. The GFS does not agree and has a more moist belt here into portions of the Western Caribbean. Knowing that, looking at the MJO and stuff like that, I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the Euro solution than I am the GFS's solution. All right, the Climate Prediction Center, this came out yesterday, brand new, pretty much hot off the press. And as we could see, we definitely have tropical cyclone potential for weeks 2 and 3, and a blue. You see that blue? Share. Come on, guys, share. See the blue? That's lower than normal temperatures. And I would love to participate. Please share. I will beg, share. And if we look at week 3, September 3rd through the 9th, more development, and then actually getting down here into parts of the Western Caribbean and the Bay of Campeche. So it's something that we're going to have to watch. Today, the Colorado State University and Dr. Klotzbach came out with their 2-week forecast for the northern Atlantic tropical cyclone activity, and this is for August the 20th through September the 2nd. Right now, we are looking at activity in the next 2 weeks is normal, 85% chance, above normal 10%, below normal 5% is much less likely. Now, what we do here for this one, for what we're looking at, is above normal would be greater than 22 units of ACE. Normal would be somewhere between 6 and 22 units of ACE. Erin's going to give us that by itself. So if we get anything else, we'll see. So I'm going to scroll down, and the reason that I do, I'm not going to read this whole thing to y'all, even though it does have a great amount of information. If you would just let me, there we go. If anybody would like to read this, I'm sharing it into the chat. There we go. I've pinned that comment into the chat. That is a PDF file. So please keep in mind that's not just a regular website. That is a PDF file. So if we take a look, maximum intensity reached for our named storm formations. As you can see, we could get storms pretty much anywhere develop at any time. The forecast is for this section. You guys have seen me use this quite a bit. And we are definitely now into the peak part of the season. This was a graphic that was obviously printed earlier, and it does not reflect the current outlook because this is an older graphic. But they do discuss the ensembles and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do here is where we start with our global model analysis. The EPS, or the Euro Ensemble, the Euro AI, and the GEFS are all highlighting the potential for tropical cyclone formation from the area that the National Hurricane Center is monitoring in the central tropical Atlantic. Following that system, there is limited model support for any other tropical cyclone development in the next 2 weeks. However, we are approaching the climatological peak of the season, and there is certainly potential for other TCs to form, especially given that the large-scale environment doesn't look especially harsh. And as you could see, they've used pretty much the same graphics that we are using. And they go out 14 days on their forecast, and as you could see, a lot of the signals turn it up and to the north. They also mention the Madden-Julian oscillation and how it's propagating into the maritime continent, there into the Indian Ocean and getting over in that neck of the woods on the other side of the planet. We do our nightly MJO updates and forecasts, and then our wind shear. Now there is forecast expected to be forecast increase of shear pretty much throughout the rest of August. So we may end up with a lull point going forward. And speaking of the MJO, very next frame, as you can see here, we have our MJO nightly look, and it really isn't kind of moved anywhere. Now both models are forecasting it to kind of dip back within the circle. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how that continues to propagate across the basin. So now we're out to parts of the Eastern Pacific and parts of the Central Pacific. We do have our monsoon trough and intertropical convergence zone that just runs right through there. You've got winds coming up this way, winds coming down this way, and this is where they meet right here. We do have a little bit of increased shower and thunderstorm activity, but there is nothing associated with the National Hurricane Center's tropical outlook for the Eastern Pacific or the Central Pacific for the next 7 days. Jumping out even further, getting out here towards the Western Pacific, we have Tropical Storm 18W, as you can see here. It has 40 knot winds and forecast to move into extreme southern Japan and bring some inclement weather for those folks there. All right, that's about all that I've got this evening. Please, folks, make sure that you monitor your National Weather Service office. As you can see here, weather.gov, there are all types of warnings, watches, advisories. There's just things set everywhere, as you can see, getting up into New Jersey and Long Island, coastal flood warnings, tropical storm warnings, especially offshore, gale warnings, high surf warnings, small craft advisories, coastal flood advisories. So please, if you live along the east coast of the United States, check with your National Weather Service office to see what the conditions are for your area. Oh, Christy, I'm sorry, dear. I'm trying to make it kind of quick here tonight. It is Bell Day, and well, not really, honestly, Christy, not much at all. We may end up with a good break as we get into the latter part of August here. It's possible. It's very possible that we may end up with a break. So, all right, everybody, that's really about all that I've got here tonight. Christy, if you got any questions, dear, just hit me up in chat afterwards. I've just got the post live conference call that we do with the team, and I'll still be able to chat via text. But yeah, if you got any questions, dear, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Things are looking okay right about now, so. As long as we still are running kind of where we're at, we're doing good. We're looking good. So hopefully we'll continue to run this kind of a hit and miss with the storms, and make sure that we do not see anybody impacted directly by any of these tropical cyclones. We don't want to see it. All right, everybody. You're welcome, Christy. All right, all. I will see you tomorrow night at 6 p.m. I will be back with the latest, and we'll definitely have some impacts being seen from Erin, And we'll take a look at what we've got with our subsequent waves as they continue to migrate off the African mainland. So, with that, everybody, we'll be back tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, here on Facebook and YouTube. Have a wonderful evening. See you tomorrow. Good night.